Hi, I am Rick, and we're going to take a quick look at Jesus in Psalm 22. Right in the first verse, it's obvious this is talking about Jesus, where he cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And who said that? Jesus. This wasn't the cry of David. This is the cry of Jesus upon the cross. Later on through the psalm, we see that he's not just a man, but the God man. In verse 6, "I am a worm and no man." Why would he say something like that? Why? Because even amongst men, there would be nobody who would love him naturally, and everyone would despise him, a reproach of men and despised by the people. In verse 7 and 8, he's being mocked and ridiculed by the religious hypocrites while he's on the cross, but that's actually the life and the testimony of each one of us until God saves us and makes us one of his people by granting to us regeneration and faith. Otherwise, we are all mocking Jesus on the cross by nature. In verse 15, he is brought to death, where we read, "My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue clings to my jaws. You have brought me to the dust of death." This is Jesus on the cross. Why did he die? Did he die for your sin? You should be thankful that these things that are written by David were a prophecy of Jesus Christ. In verse 18, his garments are divided by casting of lots. We see the fulfillment of that in the New Testament Gospels. In verse 22, he looks forward to his resurrection. "I will declare your name to my brethren." What happens? He's on the road to Emmaus. He's with those two disciples, and he reveals himself to them after his resurrection. Isn't this great? They would mourn, but their mourning would be turned into rejoicing, he says to them, and that's exactly what happened. They would be able to rejoice. In verse 30, "By the new covenant fulfilled by him, Jesus Christ, there is a people who will serve him." And then in verse 31, "By coming to him in faith and declaring his righteousness by the gospel to others, who also will be born again." There is a people who are born again. We become witnesses. We testify of Jesus who saved and delivered us by taking upon himself our sin, its debt. His suffering and his death was a purposed suffering and death for a believer to relieve us from the wrath of God. And it's all right there in Psalm 22 when you see Jesus in the Old Testament.